come out. They were just barely coming out. Hey, oh, well, we were told to go to Jerusalem. Maybe we should go. Yeah, okay, let's go. Let's see if it was true that something will happen through us. And they go. That's great news for us. Because if we really strip away all of the walls and the masks that we put on all the time in our life, I think you will find, as I find in my life, that there's a lot of fear in my heart. There's a lot of fear in my heart about myself, about my family, about the things that are going on in my life. And the good news is that I don't need to be in control of it all. I don't need to have complete courage. I can just choose to have a little bit and step out, just to see what God is going to do. Just to step out. Is he going to do something? Let me just go check it out. The disciples go to Jerusalem. And you know they're scared because it's not like they're going and really speaking out. And when I read this passage about the passage that we're going to read, I think the disciples still are not sure. They go to Jerusalem and start speaking in a time when people probably are not going to hear. I think. That's how I read it. They go, and it says, it's like maybe 8:30. People are looking pretty busy. 9 o'clock. Oh, yeah. Oh, they're really busy. They're late to work now. They're really busy. And they just start speaking to all the people that are running around. It's a busy place. People coming from other towns, speaking other languages. And one of the disciples steps up and he begins to share his faith about Jesus. And the Bible tells us that something weird happened. That people from other places, people that don't even speak the common language, started understanding them. And they were sharing who Jesus was. And in that sharing, people who knew the disciples, they were pointing to them. Man, those guys, I knew they were a bunch of fakes. I knew they were a bunch of phonies. Right? They acting all holy. And here they are, 9 o'clock in the morning, and what are they? Drunk. Drunk. They've already been drinking the wine at 9 o'clock in the morning. What is that? And the passage that we're going to read today comes from Acts. And this is Peter's response to them. And Peter says, standing with the 11, raised his voice and addressed them. Men of Judea, and all who live in Jerusalem, let this be known to you, and listen to what I say. Indeed, these are not drunk, as you suppose. For it is only, what time? 9 o'clock. It's 9 o'clock. Even people who like wine, I don't know, 9 o'clock, that's pretty early. 9 o'clock in the morning. No, this is what was spoken through the prophet Joel. And he begins to speak and quote Joel. John's laughing over there. Some people might drink at 9. In the last days, it will be, God declares, that I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh. And your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, and your young men shall see visions, and your old men shall dream dreams. Because see, that's the role reversal. It was thought that young people are the dreamers, and the old people are the visionaries, right? They have these spiritual visions, but it says, things will be turned around, even upon my slaves, both men and women. Slaves? Can slaves get anything good? Both men and women, in those days I will pour out my spirit, and they will prophesy. And I will show my portents in the heavens above and signs in the earth below, blood and fire and smoky mist. The sun shall be turned to darkness and the moon to blood, before the coming of the Lord's great and glorious day. I love this next verse. Then everyone who calls on the name of the Lord shall be what? Everyone who calls on the name will be saved. Here's something else that we need from that passage. Is that we need a little bit more out of our minds. When people saw the disciples, they thought the disciples were out of their minds. 9 o'clock in the morning and you're drinking wine? What is going on? You crazy. Yeah, you're crazy. 9 o'clock. Wait till 12. 9 o'clock. What are you doing? They thought they were out of their minds. And I believe, you know what? Not in the way that the people were thinking, but the disciples, they were out of their minds. They were out of their minds because they were into God's mind. They were taking a chance and taking a step forward to see what God was thinking, what God was going to do. And all they did was take a little step. And God did something miraculous. That passage from Joel says, your young men and daughters shall prophesy. Do we really believe that? Is Joel part of the Bible? Do we really believe that? I believe that. I believe that so much. I believe that it happens now. It happens today. It happens in our life. Do you know what prophecy is? I always thought prophecy was somebody when somebody gets up and kind of predicts the future. Ooh, it's like a magic ball, crystal ball. Oh, what's going to happen in the future? But actually, prophecy is not so much about predicting what's going to happen, because a lot of the prophets did say that. They said, if you don't do this, this is what's going to happen. Predicts the future. But what we forget, we like the prediction, but what we forget, the important part is the beginning part where the prophet says, come back to God. Come back to God before something bad happens. That's prophecy. The prophecy is the call to come back. And I believe we see this even today in our church. We have prophetic voices. Prophetic voices, not from old people. What did that passage say? From young men and your daughters. Last week, on Easter, we had somebody come and speak. One of our young people. Our Sunday school teachers, some of our Sunday school teachers had their students write down what Easter meant. Teachers went through all the little short essays, and these are like elementary kids, right? Went through all the essays, and they picked out one essay. It was from Michael, and Michael came up, took his essay, and I could tell he's been practicing at home, and he read it, and he talked about what Jesus meant to him. And he said, Jesus, that he believes in Jesus, that he died for him and rose for him, and he said, and the Holy Spirit helps me to understand what's right and what's wrong, and to choose what's right. I said, oh man, that's prophetic. It's coming from the mouths of our infants, of our kids. The Bible also says, let those who have ears listen. Prophecy is happening right now, even in our midst. Us being called back in our relationship with God. Last week, the youth group led worship with Jay. Oh my gosh, they sounded good. I was worried. When every time the youth come up and lead worship, I'm a little bit sweaty. I don't know what's going to happen. But our youth came up here. Some kids were playing the guitar. Some kids playing the bass, the drums, singing. And that's actually worshipful. I could worship with this, right? And I'm looking at these kids and I'm like, I know those kids. I've known some of those kids since they were born. I go, that little kid, he's a klutz. What's he doing up there? Right? And they are klutz. Some of knuckleheads. My kids included. Some kids can be knuckleheads. And, I love one of our kids, I'm not going to mention who, but in the band, they're playing and worshiping and got too close to the communion table and what do you think happened? There was a communion cup. Communion cup went, and it's, we got those clay, kind of authentic looking communion cups. Oh, and I'm like, no! God taking a person and making a klutz into a non-klutz. But it's about God claiming that person as his child. And I knew, wow, God can take a klutz like that and do something. That's a miracle. So many times in my life, I have done something wrong. So many times. I share this with you as a testimony all the time. I come home late at night. Just sometimes doing things I shouldn't have been doing. A lot of times doing things I shouldn't have been doing. Coming home at like 4